I don't know if you saw the video I made about this Densha to Go plug and play games console, but it must have got some people thinking about things that you can import from Japan. And in the comments under that, one chap suggested to me that I should take a look at the BALMUDA toaster. So it should come as absolutely no surprise that that is what this video is about. Now, at the time of making the video, BALMUDA, who are a Japanese company, don't sell this in the UK, so mine was imported from South Korea. The reason for choosing a South Korean version over any other is because their power supply is 220 volts, and here in the UK, it's 230 volts, give or take. So that means I've got no problem using it here, because there's always a bit of leeway in these things. And since South Korea use a Type F plug, I can just plug it into an appropriate adapter. So now let me show you what separates this BALMUDA toaster out from your conventional toaster oven. It's this inlet on the top into which you pour 5 cc's of water from the tiny cup that's provided. The water travels down a pipe inside the machine and comes to rest in the boiler unit at the bottom. The idea being that the water turns to steam at the start of the cooking cycle, which infuses the bread and, in theory, I'm quoting here, recreates the flavour of bread fresh from the baker's oven. Apparently, this layer of steam envelops the bread, lightly toasting its surface while keeping its inner moisture and flavour from escaping. So you'll be able to see this process happening on screen now. I've sped the footage up considerably in order to better show the whole cooking cycle. Now, each of those yellow lights you see flashing at the bottom right, they represent a minute. In theory though, once the toast is ready, rather than it being dried out, it should have a soft, fluffy interior and a nicely toasted exterior. Apparently this process also helps somewhat to revive bread that's a couple of days old. Now, I feel that this one could have been toasted a little bit more evenly on the bottom, but there you go. Putting its headline party piece to one side for a moment, I'll just cover off the rest. It's got a nice clean layout. There are a number of colours available. This grey was apparently a limited edition. Along the bottom at the front on the right, you'll find the combined timer and on-off dial, whilst the 7-position cooking mode selector is on the left. Of course, the documentation with mine was Korean, and you can see from the pictures, though, that it recommends using thick bread for the best results. And on this page, you can see suggestions as to which cooking mode to use for various types of bread and pastries. The top right one is really the cheese on toast mode. Now, while the BALMUDA toaster isn't sold in the UK, it has made its way officially to the US, and that gave me the opportunity to download the US instruction manual. And there are a couple of small differences between the model sold over there and the one in South Korea. Notice how a couple of the toasting modes have been rearranged. At number 3 on the US model, there's a mode for pizza. However, when you read the details of this, it mentions it's also the same mode for toast with toppings. So really, it is just my cheese on toast mode, but with a different symbol. Since heating up pizza slices must be considered to be an essential feature in models sold in the US, the toaster that's sold there comes with a baking pan to put them in. Mine wasn't supplied with one, but I found a suitably sized one online. On my toaster, the timer also functions as the on-off switch when it's rotated. On the US version, the on-off switch is a separate push button in the middle. But as far as I can tell, those are the only differences. Effectively, this is the same device that's sold in Japan and the US. So it's good that I was able to get hold of an English language version of the instructions to help me get the most out of it without having to resort to using the Google Translate app. But other than the steam function, it really is just quite a simple device. I mean, there's one element at the top in the centre, another one in the bottom, but you might have noticed that it uses these in a slightly unusual way, turning them on and off during toasting, alternating between the two many times, as well as having moments when neither is lit. And it's only really when it comes to the very end of the cycle that they both briefly activate together with full intensity to finish off the browning. You can see how this process works from this image. The x-axis represents time going from the left to the right. So if we look along the bottom, you can see that it starts off with steam cooking and then moves into toasting. But just above this, they show which elements are switched on and off during the process, and you can see how it only reaches the traditional toasting section right at the end of the cycle. So if you're looking through that window at your bread, it only really changes colour in the final minute or so. Now, whilst you see I've taken the toaster out of my kitchen to shoot this video, for the last few weeks it has been in there, and I've used it every day to toast, cook and heat various types and thicknesses of bread and pastries, amongst other things, and I think I've used it long enough now to form a proper opinion about how well it works and whether or not this steam technology has made a significant difference over a conventional toaster oven for me.